CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, is begin of China's point system, which is rolled out. Did you know China is leading the way among large economies in trialing CBDC? Over the past many years, China has been steadily making progress towards a digital renminbi, and now seems poised to become the first major economy to launch an official central bank digital currency, CBDC. Nevertheless, the reality is more difficult than that, as China's digital currency project faces a variety of challenges at home and abroad. Though the Chinese government is further ahead in digital currency research than any other major economy, these economic and political challenges mean that after nearly a decade of development and several years of localized testing, there's still no clear date for a full-scale launch of China's digital renminbi. Welcome to our channel, and today we will tell you CBDC is begin of China's point system, which is rolled out. China began exploring a potential digital currency of its own in 2014. In 2016, the People's Bank of China, PBOC, proclaimed that it had successfully designed a test prototype of the digital yuan that was used in a pilot project first in the cities of Chengdu, Shenzhen, Suzhou, and Chaoyang, and in early 2021 extended to other provinces. In September, the Central Bank of China said it was improving institutional arrangements for cross-border payments in the digital yuan. In 2021, China joined a number of different countries in exploring the probabilities of using digital currencies for cross-border transactions, a decision in line with Beijing's long-term goal of boosting the yuan's relatively low use outside of the Chinese domestic market. At around 3% of international payments, the renminbi is a distant fourth place to the US dollar, nearly 40%, and the euro, over 35%. In stark and disproportionate contrast to China's second-place share of global GDP, 17.9% to the US, 24.4%. Meanwhile, at home, the Chinese government has long been clear on its intention to limit the power and market share of each commercial banks and digital payment firms that operate independent of the state, especially Alipay and WeChat Pay. Some observers have pointed out that a centralized digital currency would permit Beijing to more closely watch both individual transactions and the powerful Chinese private financial technology sector. Outside of China, both the ECNY program and CBDCs generally have begun to attract widespread interest from major governments. The European Union went from reporting on the possibility of a digital euro project to beginning the project in only 9 months. In the US, both Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have signaled administration support for research into a digital dollar, whereas President Biden has ordered research into both the digital yuan and a potential digital dollar. As of yet, it's unclear what form these other countries' CBDCs might take. 1,000 years ago, China invented paper currency. Now the Chinese government is minting cash digitally, in a reimagination of money that could shake a pillar of American power. It might seem cash is already virtual, as credit cards and payment apps like Apple Pay in the US and WeChat in China eliminate the need for bills or coins. But those are just ways to move money electronically. Many believe that conventional or fiat money may one day be a factor of the past. They will get replaced by CBDCs, which stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. If you're enjoying this video and find it helpful, subscribe and click on the bell notification so you do not miss out on any opportunities. Central bank digital currencies are legal means of payment issued by a central bank. The very definitions of the phenomenon are similar in that they characterize CBDCs as currencies that are quite similar to physical money in their functionality, but are issued in digital form and represent an asset on the central bank's balance sheet. All CBDCs rely heavily on the products of the outstanding progress in financial technology in their operation, but they differ according to the technological approaches they use. When considering this aspect of CBDCs, we can distinguish between account-based CBDCs, where the sender of funds checks the identity of the recipient before fund transfer, and token-based CBDCs, where the sender doesn't verify the authenticity of the recipient's account, but the authenticity of the token for each transaction. The implementation of an account-based digital currency system can be quite challenging because it requires the existence of only one identifier for each user of this means of payment, as is the case with traditional bank accounts. CBDCs also differ in scope and accessibility. Retail CBDC is available to the general public, whereas wholesale CBDC is merely available to financial establishments. Retail digital currencies are intended for payment transactions between people and corporations, while wholesale ones are used mainly for interbank payment transactions. China is leading the way among large economies in trialing central bank digital currency, CBDC. Its official name is Digital Currency Electronic Payment, DCEP. The digital yuan, unlike Bitcoin and different private currencies, will be legal tender. Initially at least, it'll be issued via Chinese commercial banks. This could mark a change in the international monetary system. The Chinese trial of a CBDC comes at a time when the existing international monetary system is being questioned. To some, the dollar standard is seen as progressively anachronistic in a world where the US no longer dominates the global economy and trade. Changes in the world monetary system have usually been associated with shifts in the balance of power, changes in trading patterns, and financial innovation. It is hard, therefore, not to view the potential for CBDC through the prism of renewed great power rivalry, China's rise in regional economic dominance, and its very important role in the global trading system. This paper offers an introductory look at the digital yuan and CBDC, usually with a view to assessing the possibility that such an innovation may change the way we look at money, identifying the efficiencies it may bring and forecasting the implications for the financial system and trade generally. China's citizens have been rapid adopters of new payment systems. The individuals of China have been rapid adopters of new payment systems, where they have proved efficient to both consumer and merchant. Credit cards were slow to take off in China, at least in part because the merchants balked at the fees. Alipay, on the other hand, has been very successful, and mobile payments have grown exponentially in recent years. Digital currency, which will not need internet connectivity but can be used by touching two devices, could bring the same potency to rural areas and bypass the costs associated with existing payment systems. Longer term, this might lead to the phasing out of physical money altogether and create a challenge to existing payment systems. Digital yuan lottery. It's effectively a way for the central bank to digitalize banknotes and coins in circulation. The Chinese market is already very advanced in cashless payments. The digital yuan would be a way to speed that process up. It'll be legal tender in China, and no interest will be paid on it. The Chinese government distributed 40 million digital yuan in June 2021 through a lottery in Beijing, in order to incentivize citizens to use the digital currency. Residents were able to sign up through 2 banking applications, thereby participating in a draw for one of the 200,000 red envelopes containing 200 ECNY, which they could then spend only at selected stores. This enabled China to test the digital currency on a larger sample of the population. By June 2021, more than 20 million personal digital wallets and more than 3.5 million business wallets had been installed. The digital yuan had been used on more than 1.2 million occasions during this time, for paying for public transport, shopping, using government services, etc. The total volume of transactions during this time is estimated to be over 70 million ECNY. However, despite the successful pilots, there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of promoting the use of digital yuan. A number of the issues that the POBC ought to address are the use of digital currency by foreigners living in China, due to restrictions on opening a bank account in China, as well as considerations related to privacy and data protection. More than 20 countries around the world are working on the creation of a national cryptocurrency. However, China is leading the way in CBDC implementation. According to the Chinese authorities, the free circulation of the national digital currency will begin with the opening of the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing in 2022. In this case, since May 2020, the digital yuan, DCEP, has already been partially implemented in the Chinese economy. The largest user services with an audience within the millions have been involved in its testing. The advantages for international trade of CBDC in providing instant settlement and overcoming issues of trust could be vital. The potential for CBDCs to facilitate transactions, circumvent surveillance through SWIFT, and so help countries avoid economic sanctions will appeal to some states. It might also lead to a bifurcation of the global financial system along geopolitical lines, with a loss of the positive network externalities that a unified system brings. Such a move would probably have a retarding impact on trade. Experts agree that the development of CBDCs is a fundamental change in the monetary system, which will completely reshape the global economy over the next 10 years. That's all for today. Hope this video will be quite helpful for you. Share your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe.